Hello, welcome back to Vintology by Lola. As promised yesterday, I had said that I was going to show you guys how I made this cute little accordion folder tuck in. I'm never exactly sure what to call it. So let's start at the beginning and let's talk about what you guys need, okay? I started with some cardstock, and I'll give you the measurements in a little bit, but you need cardstock, you need a pattern, some sort of pattern that you'd like to use, and it will work best if you have all of the guts inside of the pattern. So that means that you need the instructions, right? You need the pattern pieces, and then you'll need the outside, obviously, to cut something out, because that's what these are these little cuts are from the outside. Obviously, these are too big, so I'm not going to be using those, but I just wanted to show you an example. Okay, then you're just going to need some miscellaneous. I have an old tape measure. I cut some pieces already from my patterns, as well as maybe some thread to embellish it, some lace. I have a paper clip. I have some buttons. I have a pin. I have, I think, a charm in here. I just put together a few things that I might want to add to it. Okay, on top of that, you will need some sort of collage medium. I happen to be using Timmy's Distress Collage Medium. You will need some art glitter glue. If you choose to distress it, you'll need some ink and an inker. You will need probably a bone folder, a cutter, and a scorer. Okay, so whatever you want to use, scoreboard, whatever. And you'll need something to set your eyelet with, or your eyelets. And I'm just using my good old crocodile. Okay, so let's get into it. So, all right, guys. I tried to be super organized so that you guys would know exactly what I was doing. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to cut out of cardstock. And I preferably use solid. You can use printed if you want. Maybe you've got something with buttons on it or whatever. I happen to like this because I thought it went really well with the brown old pattern pieces. So I'm using just a craft cardstock. You need to cut it 2.5 by 7.5 inches. And then you need to turn it on the 7.5 inch side, and you need to score it at 3.5, 3 3/4, and 4 inches. Okay, so then you come up with something like this. Okay, now the next thing I did was I folded mine in half, and I cut my corner so that it was like a tag, right? So the good old trusty credit card that is no good anymore. And so then I folded it together, and I did this. Okay, I'm gonna move you guys because I don't feel like you're totally in frame. There, that seems better to me. Okay, so then I'm gonna do that. Okay, so you have something that looks like this, right? Now, I do suggest that you score this. Burnish it, just because you're going to be covering it up with pattern pieces. And I like to be able to see it, because on the inside, you'll still be able to see where the fold marks are, right? Okay, so at this point, I take my pattern pieces, and they can be just throw-offs. This is from one that I already did, and I just used all this. And I literally, well, how else do I do it? Literally, I just take it and I do that. And this is just me. This is just how I kind of do a collage-y decoupage kind of thing. And I will just cut off some pieces, tear off, cut off, right? I want something that has something on it though, because there's parts of the pattern that are just brown tissue paper. I don't want that. Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you is that if you're specific and you want your pattern pieces, make sure you choose a side and your pattern pieces are going the right direction. If I do them all this way, then this side, they will be upside down. Does that make sense? So if I'm going to choose this, I'm going to put it there, right? But if I'm going to put it on this side, I'm going to make sure it's going this way. Okay? Make sense? Okay, so you're going to continue until you completely have this covered. All right, and then when I'm done, I'm sure I'm not showing you anything you guys don't already know on how to decoupage. I'm just showing you my simple way. And it takes about, I'm going to say between 10 and 12 minutes for it to dry. Now that just happens to be Timmy's stuff. I don't know if you're using a different decoupage medium, how long it's going to take for it to dry. But remember, you're just trying to do a very thin coat. You just want it to be on there. Okay? So we have something like this. Now, I can find my pre-done one. Okay, so here is what it should look like when you're done. Because when this is all dry, you're going to take it and you're going to cut everything flush. Okay? The next thing I did was I happen to like mine distressed. Put the cover on this and move this. Okay? And I'm just going to distress it. Okay? And okay, so this is all dry, right? Okay. Now you're going to want to set your eyelet. Okay? So we have this all decoupaged, it's dry. Now we're going to fold it in half. Decide where you want your eyelets. Now I do them on both sides. You can just do it on one. You can just punch holes if you want. I just happen to like the finished look of the eyelet. So I'm just going to eyeball it, right? Then I have my eyelets in here, and it's so hard when you put it black on black. So I'm just going to put it on here so you can see it, right? So you can see those. So then I'm going to put my eyelet in. Okay. One. And oops, I knew that was going to happen. I could have written it on a piece of paper that I was going to lose that eyelet. So that's why I put 3 in there. Yep. Like I always say, you guys, it's only because you're on camera. If I was doing this by myself, I'd have to put away all the eyelets I pulled out. Okay, so there we go. Okay. All right, so now you can see it's all done. So I chose to have E as the front of mine. Now, what I didn't say that you can do while this is drying was, trying to move all this other stuff so you don't get distracted. While this is drying, you can choose to start cutting out your pieces. These are just some of the pieces that I have cut out and I have saved, and I think I have one other little circle in here somewhere. Well, I saved, to be honest, you guys, I tried to save everything, okay? And then I cut out, so these are all from the front of the pattern, right? So I cut those out and put those to the side. Then there is an instruction page. I'm sorry, that was from the cover of the pattern. I wanted to show you guys all so you understand. So this stuff is all from the front of the pattern. I went to the back and it's got all these instructions and the pictures, and I cut a few of those out as well because I want to lay them on here so it's not just straight pattern. I wanted some other little embellishments, okay? So I cut those out. Now, the reason I wanted you guys to make sure that you had the instructions, is because I want you to be able to cut the inside pieces out. And what do I mean by that? Let me show you. Our accordion piece in here, that is actually 3 pieces glued together, folded in half, that makes 6 pockets. Okay, so this here, right, the inside there, that is made with the instruction sheet. So what I did was I cut out 3 pieces that are 5 by 6. So this is, let me move all this again. Okay. These are 5 by 6. 6 tall, 5 inches across, okay? I scored it at 2 1/4 and 4 1/2. Now, when you're using old patterns, remember, you can score it, and by barely touching it, the paper will come apart. It's pretty fragile, okay? So use a very light hand when you score it. You can do it just by hand, too. Some people are really good at folding it, like those envelopes, those policy envelopes, and you just fold them. You can do that, too. I just happened to like it because I knew that they would all be the right size. I wanted them to be 2 1/4 inches wide because the outside of this is 2 1/2, okay? So I got done with all of those. You fold this in, and this is where your art glitter glue comes in, right? And you are just going to glue it, okay? And then when you're all done, then you're going to take it and you're going to fold it in half, okay? I tried to do it so that I had the words going up and that they were facing me, because sometimes you can get them so that there's nothing, and I'll show you an example of that. There's nothing on it. Now, granted, these are going to be glued together, but this is just me. So how many times do you do that? You do that 3 times. So I have these all pre-scored. This is what I was talking about. See how this is plain? I don't want that on the outside like this. I want it on the inside. So we're going to take and we're going to glue all of our little, now see, look at this. See, this is what I was talking about. I didn't glue this. Somehow it got stuck. Well, this will be one I'll just throw out. But you can see I scored this with a heavy hand and it just comes apart. So I would say that you just need to be very conscious of that, okay? So here's another one. And I must have glued that one together. And I glued that one together. Maybe I glued them all together. I can't even remember, you guys, when I was trying to get this all together. I guess I glued them all together. Okay, so here is our 3 pieces all glued together, right? So then I put them together to make sure that they're all flush, right? Then all I'm going to do is I am going to take my first one and I'm going to do 1 center line of glue through the middle of the fold. And you need very little, okay? Put that off to the side. Next one. Okay, just like that. And the third one, okay? All right. Just like that, right? Easy. Okay, so now I have my 3 pieces that are glued. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna glue these 3 together. So what I do is I take the one, I decide how I want it. It doesn't make any difference because they're all stacked on top of each other, right? But I'll take this middle one and I'm just gonna glue this on top. Again, trying to make it as even as I can. Okay, and now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, what's that? Okay, so you have these 3. So it should look something like this, right? Unless this piece got glued shut and you didn't want it to. Okay, so there's that. And here's that. Oops, sorry. I wanted to make sure I was in frame there, right? Okay, so here's that. So we are just going to open it like that, right? Okay, so for now, we're going to put that to the side. We don't need this right this second. So this was drying. We put our eyelets in, we clipped it, and we aged it with vintage photo or whatever color. Maybe you're doing pink, whatever color you decide. Now we need to embellish it. So decide which side you're doing, front, this side or this side. Okay, I fold mine in half because I know that it's going to be something like this. So I try not to go too much further than this line, but I still fold it in half. Does that make sense? Just saying, I'm trying to give you guys my process here. So I have, remember I told you I cut out a couple of the pieces from the back of the pattern, right? And it's a different color, which makes it stick out a little bit. So sometimes I just kind of tear it, and I'm gonna distress it a little bit, right? And put it down there, see how I like it. I kind of like this pink one. And I'm just gonna kind of do that. So you can kind of see that it says back like that. This one, kind of rip. And put this one right on top like that so you can see it. So I'll just dress those up a little bit. And if you guys are using patterns that are absolutely destroyed and you haven't ever worked with them, you need to understand that one of the reasons I do this is because there's really not much else you can do with them, because A, they're torn up, B, they're pretty fragile. So remember that when you're working with this stuff, you really want to use a light hand. Not that it would make any difference if you're gluing it if it tore, right? Because that just adds kind of to the vintage, the age, the grunginess. But if there's stuff that you don't want to get torn, it can easily happen without even trying, just because you aren't using a light hand, right? So there's that. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I like doing something on the back. So I'm going to put this just kind of anywhere, because I'm not putting anything else on the back, like any embellishments, like the measuring tape or the girl who I cut out. Okay, so here we go. Okay, and maybe just a little more distressed, because that's who I am. Okay, so now this is my old icky measuring tape. I don't even know where I got it from. It was all crumpled up in the bottom of some box or something years and years and years ago, and I hung on to it. And so I just cut off a piece, and I kind of distress the edges a little bit so that the thread on it that's been sewn doesn't look so white. Okay. And you can use Fabri-Tac. I have not had a problem because this is a fabric measuring tape. It does just hold fine. I have not had an issue. Okay. And just get that all done. Might need a little bit more because it's kind of wide. Right? Just like that. Okay. So now I'm ready to place my, and this for me is auditioning. That's what I call it. I don't just instantly glue stuff down, and maybe you don't either, but I just want to explain my process. So I really liked her. She was a Barbie in a formal gown. I just thought she was great. But I would also like to say that it was a McCall's, right? And so this is going to be all grunged up, and it has the pattern piece on it. So I'm going to take that, and now that I've distressed it a little bit, I'll cut it. And I'll do this, and I need to see how big this is down here. Okay, so I'm still gonna put a little bit off, right? And you can use whatever you want. Here is a bigger number, you guys, and then on the back it says quick measure. Here's a big number. I had, when I'm looking for it, and I do not see it anywhere in my stuff, I had oh, there it is. I had the price. So here's the price of what the pattern cost, and I just used a circle hole punch, and I cut it out, and I might put it on there. So what I do is I kind of figure out what I want to do, and There's me. There's that. Put this a little bit more grunged up a little bit, right? So I know for sure I want to put it up there. I know for sure she's going to go over here because I can't have her any further down because she's really sitting right on the cusp. So I'm going to have her here. And this is the part that always is such a challenge. Let me see if I can find... I went to go look for the makeup applicators that I've seen people use for, and I can't find it. Oh. Anyway, I'll just use this. But the makeup applicators to get in the side of here, couldn't find them. I could not find them at my Dollar Tree. At 2 of them I looked. They didn't have just plain applicators. Maybe I need to go into a makeup store, but I was kind of hoping that I could just get away with $1, you know, the dollar little, or $1.25, $1.50 applicators, because that's what I've seen people use to get inside of here when they're trying to distress it. And she is extremely fragile. Okay, so there she is. It always makes a cut apart look really good when you distress the edges. I don't know why. Okay, so she's ready. So we're going to glue her down. Okay. And that's probably about right. See, so you really cannot even see those pattern pieces that I had put on originally, the pieces from the back of the pattern, but it just made me feel better. It felt like I was doing a little bit of layering, right? Okay, and then I'm going to put this on here. Like that. Okay. And then down here. Now, it's funny because I'm looking at this, and this says Simplicity, and this says McCall's. I don't really care. You may care, but because I cut out the stuff, I'm not exactly sure what pattern it was. And so I have a little bit. I'll put this more in the center. There, like that. Now, should I put this on here somewhere? 45 cents. See, I feel like that makes it too busy, but I could put it back over here. So I'll distress it, and then I'm using it, right? Let's put that there. So that looks cute. So you used everything, right? Now what I do is I open it up and I can see that there's a little bit on this side and just a tiny bit over here. I know it's just going to get beat up, so I'm just going to cut it off. And then I'll probably just distress it a little bit, just like that. So there's the front. Oh, isn't she just gorgeous? Okay, she kind of looks like maybe she needs just a little titch of glue here. And because these are fragile, I try to make sure that all the little fingers and hair and dress, all the pieces are glued on well. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so we're almost done. So now I'm going to open it up and I'm going to just set it so that it sits up just like that. So this bottom piece is just sitting up. See, and you can see this probably needs to be trimmed a little bit as well. Okay, there. So there we have her, okay? So now, remember we did our little accordion? Now we're gonna put the accordion in. So what I do is I put it right in the middle, right like this, okay? So it's right smack dab in the middle, just like that. Then all I need to do is open my front, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do one line of glue, and I'm going to close the front. Okay. Press down. Probably doesn't need that much pressure. Now I'm going to flip it over. Going to open that back piece, and I'm going to do my line of glue again. I'm going to press down. Okay. Press down. And there you have it. Now make sure that you don't, there we go. Sometimes there, the glue gets a little stuck because it is thinner paper. So there you have it, right? And so now you get to choose what you want to put in it. Now, maybe you want to put this off to the side or inside of here. I was trying to think of how you could do that, but I think it doesn't really show that much. I mean, you could, if for some reason you wanted to close the gap on some of these, I'd glue them before I put a paper clip in there. But this one was actually meant more for when I did my guest check. But now I'm just gonna tie, oh, that was the other thing I was gonna tell you guys. So I had little tiny buttons. So maybe you wanna do a couple of buttons, and I think I'm going to, because I kind of like that. So I'm gonna put just a dot here. I forgot, the other one I didn't use buttons, and I put a whole bunch of little things in my dish that I thought, oh, maybe I'll use that. Okay, good thing it dries clear, because I am such a mess with the glue, you guys. Okay, so then you have a little more added dimension to it. So now I'm going to take some of my very old lace, and I'm going to use the back of this, and I'm going to stuff it in there. Right? And then I usually tie before I cut, just to make sure. Okay, so then it's like that, and like that. Turn it. Cut it. And I don't want it to be perfect. I'm all about kind of making it so that it looks like it was handmade, right? And if you can't get your bow right, you just kind of play with it, right? So there we have. Here is the original. Let me tie the bow on this one. Now, there was something I was going to tell you guys. I don't particularly like this piece that I did hanging down. I just haven't taken it off yet. I think it interferes too much with the cute picture of the girls, and I thought that it would dangle maybe a little bit less low, you know, that the dangle would be up higher, but it isn't. So I'm probably going to end up taking that off. But here's the one that we made today. Here's the original one we made. There's that. There's that. So this is what I made. This is how easy it was. This was recycling old patterns that probably would sit in a drawer and would never be used for anything. So that's why I love it. But remember my last video, I said if you stayed till the end, there would probably be a giveaway. So what I decided was, because I've been making so much stuff, I would be giving away one of these. I would give away one of my journal tags that I made, all of my tags. So not necessarily this one. I'll go through and decide which ones I want, but you'll get this, the accordion. You'll get one of the cute journal tags. You'll get the crazy lady tag. You'll get one of my girls, my Tim Holtz one. And I will be also putting in one of my cute cassette tape boxes with the stick pins in it for you ladies and gentlemen, if I have someone watching. What do you need to do? Write a comment that has the word pattern, P-A-T-T-E-R-N, somewhere in your comment. Then I will randomly choose, and I'm going to say Sunday night, and then I will stick it in the mail and you'll win it. Once I draw, I'll need your address and then you win. So it's just going to be that easy, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope that if you have some old patterns, this gave you an idea of something that you can do with them. And I hope that you have a very blessed week, you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to come and watch this tutorial. So, peace out until next time.